So, how does somebody lose half his body weight, 85 kilos, from 172 to 85, I think something like that, and then ends up selling ice cream? So, it's a really interesting story. But before we get into that, welcome to episode 16 of Book of Jake. My guest is John, very close friend, and you need to like, subscribe, and of course share, like guys. No, just do that. That's the natural. So, John, welcome to the podcast. And I have to say that we're shooting in a new location. It's the KL Podcast Studio. Just found this studio a couple of weeks. Amazing place. Yeah.
Crazy setup.
So, John, let's get straight into
Yep.
it. We got about 12 minutes to talk about your life and why you're selling ice cream.
Yep. So I started off with my journey, right? My fitness journey. So you introduced it very simply and very briefly and perfectly. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to keep that going and kind of be able to introduce something that could help other people going through
But
their
before
struggle
we get
as
into
well.
ice cream, tell me what's it like being 175 kilos, which is almost as heavy as a small calf that you korban for.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's a very lonely path. I think, and for me personally, when it came down to being 175, I needed to be someone that I wasn't in order to be accepted by the rest of the world, because people look at you different. They may try to treat you different, or they might try to accept you the way you are, but in the end of the day, you still feel very different from the rest of the world. And and that's just the way the world looked at you. And then you have your
Did you
own-
hate yourself at 175 kilos? Let's be honest.
I was
Because I know the answer to this, but I want you to say it.
yeah, it started being confused. I was confused, like why,
Angry?
and then it grew into frustration, and then it went into anger, and it just got worse and worse and worse, and really, my and that influenced a lot of my choices, because I realized that the easiest way for me to forget about things was one by finding comfort through food and access. And access was everything. It was food, drink.
I thought you said sex, so I just jammed for a while. It's access to food.
Yeah, I wish it were. There was severely lacking in that department, of course. And there's also and that also influenced the other choices I made. So it was also about the company that I would choose to keep, the kind of lifestyle that I would gravitate to, and I realized that everything was just being centered around some kind of attempt to be accepted by the rest
So
of
that's
the world.
accepted. It's great.
Yeah.
So fast forward 3 years, you lost all the weight, of course,
Yeah.
through diet and workouts. I actually was a big part of that. We used to hang out and all that.
Yeah,
So you lost. But is your mind in this? Is it still in the same place, or are you a different person now?
I would say 90%, 95% of the time I am a completely different person. You know, 5% sometimes, they're just little demons trying to whisper, and kind of
Hey,
get you into
John,
bad
have that
habits.
extra nasi lemak.
Yeah. Correct. And that's where this ice cream came into play, right?
So this happened before we delve into
Yeah.
this. So you generally, what happened was you sort of was laid off, right? I'll be very honest.
Yeah.
You was laid off, and then I remember speaking to you, and I said, with all this experience, why don't you do something on your own? But why ice cream? I mean, I can understand why ice cream, because you love ice cream, and I love ice cream too. But what made you think that this is going to be a success? And I'm not doubting you.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like I think about, I reflect on my journey, right? And in that period of time where I was, kind of navigating through what am I going to do next now that I'm unemployed. It's a very tough market even to get a job, but I refused to want to lose. And I was thinking of all the things in this journey, and I just thought to myself, I've done so much for myself in order to make this change. And I understand the sacrifices.
I mean, you just like ice cream, lah.
Yeah,
You're getting to it, right?
Yeah. And really, the one thing I couldn't get away with was desserts.
Okay.
I think you and I know, like, my love for desserts, especially ice cream. And I was thinking, like, why is it something so good makes you feel so bad after. And I wanted to make a
Everything,
change about that. And
So talk me through this. Talk me through how, from concept to getting it out in the market.
right. So again, I had quite a bit of time, free time to think about this. So I was basically just messing around with different kinds of ingredients, different kind of formulas, and the trick was getting the ratios right. I wanted to come up with an ice cream that I could eat as much of and not have to feel bad about it after, right? And I feel personally, for me, best time for ice cream is before bed.
There's no best time for ice cream. This ice cream is you eat all the time. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So how much calories in this tub?
Okay, so this is where it gets crazy, and that's why it's called crazy low-cal ice cream, right? So you could there's a pack inside that's vacuum sealed,
Okay.
With all the ingredients. It's a premix, so you chuck in a bit of ice. A liquid of your
Blender.
choice, into a blender, ice crushing blender, and what happens is you whip it into this soft serve consistency at the start, which you can eat in an instant. And once you freeze it, it settles and turns into ice cream. Now, one pack fills an entire 1 liter tub, and a 1 liter tub gives you 368 calories, which is about
68 calories.
yeah, that's ridiculous. Which is about the average of a slice of cake. The average slice of cake is anywhere between 300 to 500 calories.
What are the flavors you went for here? The classic flavors, is it?
Yep, I went for classic flavors. Right now, we are starting off strong with a very, very strong chocolate. This is I'm very, very much in love with this flavor and texture. It has a nice level of sweetness, very nice chocolatey and rich.
Well, you're the expert in desserts and ice cream, so I can assure you that I haven't tried it. I'm going to try it. I can assure you that it's going to work.
It is.
Inshallah, it's going to work. So the point I'm trying to make is think about a journey, right?
Yeah.
So I always believe that our life has been touched or has been planned through certain pivots in our lives. From an angry band called Nerve Wreck that struggled, overweight, lost half your weight, got into COVID, lost your job, suddenly decided wanted to do something on your own.
Yeah.
So there's a strange force that is, pushing you towards this. Do you think that, and I know the answer to this, but I want you to answer this. Do you think that this is the end, or are you going to go into some more variants or different SKUs?
Absolutely. It is definitely not the end. If anything, this is just the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of other formats that I'm already experimenting with. But my first and foremost thing is get into the flavors, and chocolate is great. Next will be vanilla, once I've perfected that flavor experience.
So how do I actually buy this?
Okay, so right now, the distribution channels are very, very limited. There's
Is there an Instagram that I can DM
yes,
you? Yeah.
there is an Instagram. It's Incredible Food Co.
Okay.
Right. So that's what you want to look out for. And
Macam international.
yeah, that's the dream, right?
Yeah.
That's the dream.
But I like. It's got a. I hate to say it's got a very Ben and Jerry kind of feel, but I like that you put two guys lifting weights there, and it's smart. It's very smart. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I ultimately, I feel like while the Instagram page is going to give a lot of updates on where you can get it.
It's word of mouth.
It's going to be word of mouth, and I feel like personal trainers is probably the first way I want to go.
That's good.
Because
That's
they
niche.
are educators of calorie management, and people will understand. And I feel that the relationship between personal trainers and clients is that they have a shared goal. They both want to get somewhere with their training. And this is a tool to help them lessen that
Yeah, I mean the
sacrifices
packaging
they
is
have to make.
great. It's how much does it cost actually?
So right now it's 50 ringgit.
So,
Yeah.
but 50 ringgit. If
It's-
I add and make, how much ice cream do I get?
You get 1 liter, which
Okay.
is a very, very reasonable amount
Okay. Alright.
price.
Okay. So if you could narrow down and quickly sum up your journey, and for an entrepreneur or for somebody who's struggling, and to what are the steps that they take to actually grow, and also talk about a little bit about failures, how you arrived there.
Yeah. Ultimately, the biggest the key takeaway, there's only one takeaway. And the one takeaway is to be consistent. That is it. You can fail and you should welcome failure, but you should not give up. You should take those failures, accept them as lessons, and understand, because now you have the cheat code on how to dodge any other instances like that from those learnings, and just keep going at it. And eventually you'll arrive at where you want to be. The second thing is, don't be too premature with your celebrations. Often we look at
shock sendiri cepat lah. It's like brother
cepat.
jual burger hari ni dah untung besok tutup kedai lah kan.
Yeah, exactly.
I was one of those actually.
Yeah. So I've learned that, especially in my fitness journey as well, right? I was, and you know this, I was very, very quick to kind of celebrate and let loose, and then after that I relapse. And that same experience extends to life as well. With a lot of things that we want to do, we get so caught up in the small victories that we kind of let go of the reins for a bit, and then very quickly things
Mamba mentality.
Correct.
Okay, so
Channel focus.
Last parting words before we say how to get your ice cream and where to contact you.
Right. My only parting words is, whatever you want to do for whether it's your health, whether it's your happiness, the most satisfying way to go about it is to do it for yourself first. That's
very profound. Thanks, John.
My
John's
pleasure.
on Instagram at JohnHD.
Johnzilla HD, but more importantly, incredible
I'm going to
food
buy
co.
this because I support friends, and I'm not one of those guys who will get it free. I'm actually going to pay for this. Lastly, guys, my book is available at www.bookofjake.my. It's only $39.90. It's stories of my life and how I grew up. And again, please like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next week. I think I got a surprise old school rocker for you in our next episode. Take it easy and buy from us at the KL Podcast Studio. Okay?
Cool. That was great.
Thank you. Next.